Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is the beautiful Kristi Magraw. She's the creator of the Magraw Method. She's also a certified director of psychodrama, registered massage therapist, music teacher, and a professional musician and composer, and also the author of Note by Note, a tale of trauma, recovery, and musical discovery. So this is my brief introduction to Kristi. The full bio will be at the end of this video. But the question that I love asking, which I always kind of warn my guests, is this one. In your own words, who is Kristi? How would you describe who you are in this very moment?
So I've been thinking about this question quite a bit. And what I realized is one word that kind of encapsulates all my different things I've done is teacher. And so I enjoy teaching. Whatever I learn, I want to pass on. Whether it's in a therapeutic setting or a physical setting, I want to pass on what I learn. So I'm a teacher. I'm also a person who has numerous disabilities. I have both physical, muscular disabilities, my face, and I have sensory disabilities, my hearing, and I have nervous system disability, dystonia. So I'm very experienced with working with both the trauma of and the mindset and the healing of disability.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Kristi, I know we met before twice, but some people might not have seen those videos, so thank you. You just, you inspired me with another question, based on your answer of who you are, a teacher. What qualities define a teacher?
Well, an inquiring mind, because a teacher needs to know their student if they're going to teach that student. So they need to inquire. They also need to inquire about and get as filled up as possible with what they're teaching.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I teach, and what this talk is about, is change. The ability, the process of change. So in the title, writing the brainwave is kind of a little bit of a joke there, because it applies both to a really good idea and also actual brainwaves. And then the second part, a sea change, that's the phrase I use to describe this kind of deep and more permanent change that affects our body, our relationships, and identity.
Yes, so that was a very good also introduction to the topic. Writing the brainwaves, a sea change. And you see, I always have these fundamental questions. What would you say is the first step, if there is one in a linear way, to change? I would love to hear that from you. What it takes for us to be open even to change.
Yes. So curiosity is really important, but so is humility. So I have a story about humility a little later on, but the way I define humility is that, first of all, it's not shame. It's not about shame. It's about being able to see one's mistakes, to forgive oneself and others if necessary, and move through it. But so in order to change, we can't be afraid to look at ourselves, like really look at ourselves.
Yes, yes. That's a big one, isn't it? Being open.
Yes.
And the first being open to ourselves, right? Without judgment, right, Kristi?
Yes.
Open.
And safety is also really important. You know, one of the things that stops many people from changing is feeling safe. You know, either emotionally safe or physically or financially, whatever kind of safe they need. And when we're in fear states, we want to hang on.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So safety is another one, of course. Yeah. It has to be part of the process. Yes. It resonates. So for this meeting, you mentioned that our conversation would be based on chapter 9. So in your book, again, note by note. And you have 3 stories that you will tell today, along with, of course, you're going to share some lyrics/poems as well. So I'm wondering where to start here. I have so many questions. I was looking at the Heart of Listening, the poem.
Yeah, let's take that one. Let's start with the poem.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a poem that I wrote with a friend of mine. At the heart of listening, music changes everything and comes alive in our body. The art of listening is like peeling an onion, unfurling a sail, the sun opening the petals of a rose. There are layers of effort, releasing spirals of energy that circle to reveal hidden truth about the one listened to and the listener. I have tried to teach the art of listening with ears, with hands, with eyes, and with heart. Have I been successful? Only further listening will tell. And that is a perfect intro to my first story, actually. Yeah. Did you have another question?
There's something about you. I'm not sure if that's your voice or the way you write that just makes me very emotional. And I became emotional the last time. I'm becoming emotional again today. And when I read it on my own, I didn't. So it was just touched me because it's profound. It's a profound message. So something in me was touched, and I just have it here in front of me. I just copy and pasted. But listening to you when you speak, reading the poem, it's a different experience. It's a completely different.
But thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have a little backstory for my experience with the Listening Center.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Listening Center is a place that helps mostly children with different, we call them neurodivergent children. Yeah. It helps them become more balanced. It's called the Tomatis method. It was originally developed to help singers. So, but the backstory is about a habit. A habit I developed from my trauma, which was very set in, of thinking I had to do things on my own. So I heard about this new procedure called a hearing aid implant. And I thought, maybe I could hear better, because I was just starting to wake up to the fact that maybe my lack of hearing affected me. I hadn't looked at it until my 40s. I was so involved in my faith that I didn't give the time of day to my hearing, right? So, and I thought, okay, well, maybe, hopefully, I would be a different person if I could hear out of 2 years. Well, the implant experience was a complete disaster. It just irritated my body. And it was like, a surgery that repeated my original trauma. I ended up with nothing except discomfort. So that, and I didn't talk about it. I was so ashamed. I just, didn't talk about it. So then I heard from a colleague about the Listening Center. And I thought, okay, maybe this will help me. So I went there. I was pretty nervous. And I was very plugged up, and sinus, ears, everything totally plugged. And they said, well, we can't start until you get less plugged. So I had to wait again several months for this thing to clear up, and which it was a result of the bad sound that I got from the implant. Anyway, eventually it cleared up enough for me to start. And so when I went there, I felt like they noticed that my discomfort. For the first time, somebody was saying, we see you, we see you, we see what your problem is, we can help, here's a special set of headphones because you only have one ear. I mean, I felt very special. And then on top of that, it worked, right? But I think as important as the actual change that happened was the being seen by people who understood me. And it was very life-changing. This was a big sea change for me. And what it did was, after that, for 8 years, I was able to sing, and I hadn't been able to. So that was pretty special. And my relationships changed. People in my family would say, oh, you seem more approachable now. Anyway, so it opened me up emotionally in a good way.
Yes.
So I have another poem.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say one more thing about what I got from the Listening Center was I learned that not all emotional states are based in biographical memories. There are some that actually have to do with sensory difficulties. And that was a big new learning for me and took a lot of the fault off of me, a lot of the, and, the loss of a sensory skill is really a big sorrow, and I hadn't really dealt with it. Now, people don't usually think of singing as a sensory, but Shania Twain, she lost her voice for 7 years, and she says that I think of singing as a sense, like hearing or sight. When I lost my voice, it was a real loss. Yeah. And so I resonated with that like crazy, especially because shortly before that, I had an ENT say to me, well, you can talk. We only treat people who can't talk. You're okay. Just don't sing. And that was really devastating, kind of confirmed my invisibility at that point. And here's a little quote from myself. Had made my heart shrivel and my dreams shake on their vines. The ENT, someone who's supposed to help you, says something like that. It's pretty bad. Anyway, that's a long preamble, but I want to tell the poem. I want to read the poem. Okay. As I leave the listening center, the colors of the trees leap out, sparkling my eyes with their brilliance. Under the clear blue, my breath is deep. I'm solid on both feet, noticing the smiles of people walking by. Life is a flower. I have found a way to her sweet nectar, and it sustains me.
Wow. Yes, I love the way you write.
Thank you.
It's an expression of what we call the soul, right? It's that's what it feels like. It's transcendent. Yeah, that's something that I have really been attracted to. Conversations, meetings, anything that has a touch of the infinite, of God, of the divine. I can't help it, but anything I do, anything, it has to have that component, which I call the transcendent kind of flavor. So thank you for bringing this, to this reality. Thank you for bringing the infinite to the finite in such a beautiful way.
Oh, that's a nice phrase. Yeah. Bringing the infinite to the finite. I like that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So you said, the listening center and all the people there who helped me learn that neither my brain, my ear, nor the world was my enemy. So the poem that you wrote just now, that you recited, it really clearly shows that. It's the change of perception, right, Kristi? Just the eyes won't change, but something changed. It's almost like it's what's behind the eye. It's looking from a different angle. I think that's what it is, a different way of angle of seeing the same thing. So that's fascinating when it happens. And I love that you call it a sea change. I never thought it that way. I mean, it's so poetic and musical in so many ways. It's just beautiful.
Yes, and it healed a lot of my disconnection from the right to the left. In my actual brain, there was a lot of change going on.
Yeah, that's a question that I had off record that I mentioned briefly. How do you see this idea, the concept of using both sides of our brains, the left and the right? Is that something that's needed for, let's say, balance, to lead a meaningful life, to be in touch with the infinite, or it's just a concept?
No, it's important that the brain talks to itself. That's the most important thing. And that particularly that the prefrontal, the front, talks to the back and reassures it. Left and right brain is a lot more mixed up than most people understand. It's not as simple as just two blocks, right? It's already more integrated. But as you'll see, as I talk about the neurofeedback I had, that what you want is a whole well-connected brain. You want it to be well-connected. But everybody has their own character. Some people will lean one way, some another, and it's important to respect that, but also not be locked in it.
Yes.
Right? And many people who have, post-TBI, brain injuries, post-concussive syndrome, will get locked out of their brain or out of a section of their brain. Or anybody who's trying to manage complex PTSD will also have that being locked out of things.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. That's another, what would be a good example of that? I would love to hear this idea of using the whole brain. What would be a good example? What would that look like? And also people who are locked out of parts of the brain, as you said. I never heard it that way, Kristi.
Well, I was locked out of writing melodies for a period of time until I went to the listening center. And I could write melodies, but they didn't quite hang together. They were kind of, and it was a real struggle, right? So I couldn't write melodies. And then after I had more connectivity, the words and the melodies were, they had more prosody, which means words and music fitting together. Yeah. Before that, it was kind of a bit jerky, I have to say. When I listen back, I'm going, okay, there's that problem. There's that brain problem. And, so now I know when the words are not fitting the melody or the melody's not fitting the words.
Yeah.
So that's a simple example.
Yes. It really, that resonates true, because I think about flow and harmony, of course, when I think about music, but also in life. So how can we translate that concept to in our day-to-day lives, for example? How can we bring this flow, to the dance of life?
Yeah. Well, okay, so the left brain tends to be the organizer. The right brain tends to be the innovator. So in order to flow, you need to have a certain amount of organization, because otherwise it's chaos.
Yes.
All your energy runs out, right?
Yes.
But you don't want to just be an organized robot. You want
Yeah.
to be able to innovate when necessary, recognize something new that's good for you.
Yeah.
And that's your right brain being awake. So that my right brain really woke up because it was my left ear that was problematic. So I was much more in touch with my flowing creativity.
Yeah, so let me see. I know you talked about the tomatoes, so hopefully I pronounced that correct, method of the listening.
Method.
Tomatoes method.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
is that the second story about the neurofeedback?
No, actually, the story that's actually I'm going to tell second, because I'm
Yeah.
telling them in chronological
Oh,
order,
yes, it's
is
organized. I
yes,
organized.
have to be organized. Okay,
I
is
try.
my ayahuasca story, my
Mm,
psychedelic story. So while I was still, getting boosts from the listening center and enjoying all that, I heard about a ceremony, a meditation, my friend called it, where you drank tea and sang. And I kind of went, oh, that's magical. Wow, okay, people singing together.
yeah,
And
right.
I'd always wanted an occasion to do that. So I actually joined more for the music than for
Yeah.
the substance. But then once I experienced the substance, then I thought, okay, this is something that's really going to shake me up.
Yeah.
And it did. It gave me a very high level of humility, I have to say, and made me able, not at the beginning, of course, I made so many mistakes, but gradually over time, I was able to see myself more as other people saw me. I seemed to be able to get out of myself a little more. Now,
Yes.
Michael Pollan, who's done a lot of research on psychedelics, he puts it really well. He says, he wrote a book called How to Change Your Mind. And he says one of the ways that psychedelics can really benefit us is by shaking up the default mode network. So this is a network in the brain that collects all the things we do habitually
Yeah.
and makes them automatic. Okay, so we really need our default mode network. Otherwise, again, we're kind of like all over the place. However, the default mode network can really get stuck. And if it
Mm,
gets stuck on a trauma pattern or a disability pattern, that's not good. So I knew by this time that I had these patterns. And so I went, okay, this is going to shake me up and, I'll come out a different person. And that's a good thing. So, so I call ayahuasca a somewhat rough teacher.
yeah.
Not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
you really need to be prepared to go through a lot. And so I don't really recommend it for any beginner. Nothing, no. It's just it's very strenuous. It's sometimes very
Mm,
rough, and you need to have a good group. So those are
yes.
really important things. Luckily, I had all those. So I was able to benefit. Plus, 4 years. I had to wait for 4 years because after I finished the listening center, there was another period of time when I couldn't sing. So I had to wait for 4 years before the ayahuasca helped me. And then the ayahuasca, combined with coaching lessons, helped me to sing. And I could sing again. And that was like really special.
So you said it's not recommended for beginners, right? Ayahuasca. But how do you become a let's say an advanced studio student, or how do you go from one step to another? Because at some we have to be a beginner somehow, right, to start anything. If we start anything, if it's new to us, and then we are beginners. But do you actually don't recommend it for some people?
Yeah. I do. And I do think that it's pretty important that you have a therapist
Yeah.
during the experience, because so much gets stirred up, and that you have a good, solid support system. You know, either as part of the work or aside from that, just in your life. People who understand you're going through something.
Yes.
So, and, you know, of course, there's people out there who are risk takers and they just do it anyway. But I don't think you get the best results from that. I really don't. Because at a certain point, if you don't feel safe, the change won't occur, right? We've talked about how does change occur? It occurs when you feel safe. So even if you have a strong change agent, like a psychedelic, you're if you're unsafe, you're not going to change.
That's true. So that's a very good suggestion for those listening, watching this. Yes, that we don't just do it out of curiosity or recreation, right? It's not a recreational drug.
It is not.
If you don't mind me to asking you one more question, how many times did you do it to really see the results per se, the change that, you know, the sea change, as you call it?
Yes. Well, I think probably, you know, I was doing it fairly regularly, and there were layers of change, of course, because there's layers of trauma. But I'd say a year or two before I really understood my process with the psychedelic, with the helper.
Wow. So it takes time. Yeah, it's not something that we do one time and then magically everything changes. It doesn't work that way.
No.
That's another very insightful, good to hear. Yes. I know you have do you have a poem to read? Is that
not about ayahuasca?
Not about ayahuasca.
No. even though I had a lot of creativity, I made a whole album during the time I was doing ayahuasca.
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
I did add lots of creativity during that time, which was wonderful. But no, I think what I'd like to talk about is what I call my kind teacher, my kind brain teacher.
Yes.
And that's the neurofeedback. So it's called Low Energy Neurofeedback System.
Right.
And it's different than other forms of feedback in that it's not an entrainment. You don't watch something, right? Entrainment. You actually just have the electrodes applied for a few seconds, and it's a very, very weak signal, radio signal, and but it's precise because it's matched to your own brainwave, slightly offset. So the brain recognizes it and it goes, "Oh, okay, there's something here, something new. Oh, maybe I could change." So, but it's so gentle, and when I began the lens, I was, again, not in very good shape. My nervous system was pretty shot, and I was starting to have some physical problems. But in my first treatment, which I had to drive all the way to New York State to get, in 2008, an ankle that had been giving me problems suddenly was better. And I'm going, okay, that's hard evidence that something's happening here. And I did it really consistently, and then eventually I started becoming a practitioner. And one of the things that was discovered is that I have what's called a survivor's brain pattern, which means pretty suppressed. So I was suppressed like this, you know, like instead of me. You know, it was kind of all at the same level, and sort of at a bit of a fight or flight level. You know, I'm going, well, this is not really a surprise to me. But anyway, over time, it's definitely gotten less suppressed and less, you know, tied down. And one of the things that it really helped me with was understanding how when you have a disability, there's always kind of a low-level discomfort. whether it's muscular or sensory. But if you, and even a facial disability, there's this low level of discomfort. And so it helped me to feel more of that comfortable in my skin. It helped me to understand that. Yeah. It was a very much a kind teacher, and taught me about true calmness, like true calmness. Like, all right, that feels really good, that calm feeling. I'm going to follow that feeling, And I think that's because it was addressing, the whatever brain injury I had from all the stuff that went on around my ear, which must have, because I had 4 operations. And that's a lot of actual, head trauma.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have one more thing to read. Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So this is about the lens. Through doing therapy and having ayahuasca experiences, I knew the ins and outs of releasing suppressed energy and believed in the benefits of shaking up habitual patterns. What surprised me in lens treatments was the sharp increase in well-being. I had experienced some of this at the listening center, but lens gave me more of these comfortable in my skin feelings. I also experienced the emotional storms that can accompany release of suppressed energy, sharp spikes of emotions and accompanying memories like flashbacks. But these were shorter in duration and had a better resolution, even without therapy. It was as if my inner therapist healer had gotten a big boost. As I gradually learned, this was a signal of a better connection with my prefrontal cortex, the place in our brain with executive functions and perspective, the place where our inner therapist resides.
I remember, I know it's going to sound a little strange, but I remember that never left me. I remember a story, something that happened actually. I read or saw somewhere, somebody told me that a man who had killed, I think, his wife and 2 kids, and then killed himself after, they found out that he had a tumor in his brain. So it was pressing the amygdala, and everybody thought he was crazy, actually, because he was acting already strange, behaving in a very strange way, unusual way. But nobody really thought about analyzing him at that level. He's before that this tragedy happened. So that's it's so obvious to me that if we wanted to kind of find this sense of meaning, peace, whatever we call happiness, harmony, it's really going deeper, isn't it, Kristi? Not stopping anywhere, but always being open to investigation.
Yes, definitely. I have found that too. Yeah.
Just never stop anywhere. Just have the courage or the willingness to continue, to go deeper.
To continue, yeah.
I love how you call the kind teacher and then the rough teacher. You kind of gave them nicknames, those methods. I was just looking at them. It's cute, but true. So true.
But true, yeah. And then we have the posture teacher, what I'm going to call the posture teachers. Okay, so I had, and I'm having one of those full circle moments. When things from the past come, and they do that kind of thing. So this full circle is about my posture teachers. So when I was in my early 20s, this is a long time ago, I did something called the Alexander technique because I was having pretty bad lower back problems. I was young. Anyway, so I went to an Alexander teacher and she taught me, it's a very gentle method. She taught me that, she pointed out that I had something called lordosis, which is a super swayed back. And when you have a really very swayed back, you're not over yourself. You're kind of out in front and your butt's sticking back, and it's not a comfortable posture. Right. And it's often happens when somebody spends a lot of time in fight or flight mode. And so at the time, I didn't really know about fight or flight, but I did understand the concept of not supporting myself. So as I went deeper into that practice, a lot of my first memories of my hospital experience came up and out, a lot of fear. And I went, okay, well, I like this posture stuff. And then I didn't have lower back problems anymore for years and years. So anyway, recently I started having hip problems, which are very low back connected. So I started a technique called clinical somatics. Okay, so this is a nervous system technique, posture technique. And she, again, talks about what she calls the action response, which is what creates the lordosis, which is that fight or flight. And I went, okay, all right, I'm doing this. Anyway, what's quite interesting is it's taking me to another level of helping myself. Because supporting myself, because the method is very slow. Now, I'm a quick person. You can tell from the way I talk, right? And that I'm a quick, productive type person. So this method is all about doing less,
slowing down,
doing it more slowly. Anyway, I'm very happy because it's working. And I'm having another postural correction moment.
That's interesting. I never heard, I didn't think about that way. So a posture teacher, right? That's another teacher. But you don't come across that way, Kristi. You actually,
I don't.
You come across very relaxed, calm, and peaceful to me. Very centered, grounded. Thank you. That's what I see. It's interesting how we have different ideas of ourselves, right? But I don't know if sometimes I think it's also feedback. Maybe if you have too many people around us saying the same thing about us, and then we'll believe that, but I don't know. We're all different.
Well, I've worked on it, and I know that I can be very calm. And I had all these calming brain inputs. So I know that I've developed the calm part of myself. So this is just another level of a different, integrating it right down into the root, because my problem is right in the root chakra, right down to the root of my physicality is what this is doing.
So as of now, where do you feel you are? Is there a goal? Do you have a specific vision for a goal where you wanted to be when it comes to the expression of your being in this reality, or this is something that you already feel at home in your body now, in mind?
I would like to take this calmness that I've developed and be able to take it into a more public sphere, to a presentation, to some kind of teaching situation. That's what I find myself fantasizing about, is, bringing it into and being able to stay calm, because I've done quite a bit of teaching, but not always in a calm sort of way.
Right.
And there's parts of me that, because of the disability and all that stuff around it, it still has quite a bit of fear activation. So I'm doing it right now. Right. I feel so much more relaxed this time around than last time. So I'm doing it. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. For saying yes to this conversation, to the platform of video interviews. Yes, you come across calm to me. I don't know what I said the first time. Maybe that didn't come. It was not really in the conversation. But that's the energy. It's something that I have learned to develop for some reason since I was very little, to kind of less than rely on my logical brain to analyze people and, danger. It was all about feeling energy per se, the way it felt in your body, the way they made me feel in a way, the way the body mind felt. So that's what I got from you today. It's just kind of my whole being kind of calmed down too. I became,
Okay,
yeah, I
that's
felt,
good.
yeah. So that's a transmission. So thank you.
I have a little more gift. I have a
Yes.
gift for you. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
This is about bringing the infinite into the finite, as you said. And this is what I call a mantra for healing.
Yeah. Yes.
So I developed this over a period of about 4 years, this mantra, and now I use it every day.
Yeah.
So it's got like a main statement and then a supporting statement. So I hope that will be clear in the reading.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready to listen.
You're ready to, okay.
With my entire body. That's my, yeah.
Oh, with your entire
with the
body. That's
yeah,
great.
everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I am the presence of love in me. I identify with the most essential and all-encompassing version of myself. I accept my grieving, fearful, angry, less than perfect parts. I understand the depth of their pain. I receive all healing and grace. I am worthy and trusting of attention, help, and love. Birthing from the cocoon of my history, I am finding my place. Here, life invites me to connect. My butterfly wings are unfolding. Everything fits. I feel comfortable and curious.
Yeah, so it feels like your voice is my voice, isn't it funny?
Oh,
So you're speaking for all of us, you're speaking for humanity. For us, for the parts of us that have not yet
yeah,
heard that song. Yeah, the infinite.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Kristi. That's beautiful.
Thank you for being touched.
Wow. Yeah, that's really beautiful.
I'll send it to you.
Yes, I'll make that my mantra too. Give to everybody else. Wow. Yeah, that's yeah, that's the voice of silence, isn't it? It's not coming from more
Yeah.
words, it's coming from silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, how beautiful. Wow. I mean, I can say your work, but it's really your service to humanity is beautiful and very much
Thank
needed
you.
and so needed. Yes. That's my my main way of navigating this reality, always being in touch with the infinite, the limitless, the divine. And it always makes me emotional. It might be those parts that are not yet, that have been rejected, right? We reject so much of the experience of being a human, with not knowing that it's one with infinite. They wouldn't be finite without the infinite. So it's one and the same anyway.
Hey, I have one more thing. Do I have time?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a good ending.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
From the last time. Remember the song lyric I read you?
Oh yes. Oh no, not that again. I'm like, not that.
No, I'm not going to read it.
No,
Okay.
no, you could. I'm kidding.
The story about it, the teacher. Anyway, I was able to write a melody to it, the whole thing.
Yes.
And fixed it up. And when I was out west just recently, I was in my childhood home, and I sang it for the daughter of the person it was for. And she was very touched. And the other people in the room, I asked them, does this capture, our dear teacher? And they said, oh, yes, that's good. So it was very sad. And you were a big part of that.
Oh, wow.
happening.
Yeah. How wonderful to see again that interconnectedness, right? Everything coming together because that's what we are, the web of life.
Yes.
So a curious question. Are you planning to, I don't know, have like poetic recordings, like sing them or recite these poems somehow in a form of audio and then have on Amazon, have, like you have a book, it's an audio
Yeah.
book in a way.
That's a very good idea, and I'm working up to it. It's going to take a little while longer, but I'm working on it, and you're definitely inspiring me a lot. So I really, really thank you for that.
Thank you. I would love to see that as another offering to this reality, because there's something about, I mean, obviously, to me, that's it, is that the transmission of silence, really. It's not coming from more words, as I have heard before. The transcendent, it always comes from silence. Everything he or she says, there's something that touches beyond just the physical, the five senses. It's just go deeper than that. That's what you have, that gift. And I don't know, it doesn't matter if it's coming from all the healing you have done, which obviously what blocks us from that part of us that's perfect, that is unconditioned. It is the conditioned parts, right? So by kind of clearing them, we come to see and express what is behind that, which is the unconditioned. So I just hear that over and over and over with you, your presence, your state of calm, and then the way you read all your poems, and it's just beyond. It's beyond here. What I'm able to just sense with the body. So it's beyond this. Thank you so much, Kristi, for this healing experience. Thank you. I do want to ask you a question about services besides your book. I know it's on Amazon, on your website too, and I'll have the link here, kristimagraw.com. But are you offering any other services? Are you meeting people in person?
I do. I mean, I have a pretty full practice. What I do online is something called havening. And that's it's a good technique, and it works online. So that's what I offer online. Like I said, I'm still, leading up to doing more performance type things, but I'm not quite there yet. And I need to just give myself the right amount of time to get there.
Right. And to learn more about this service that you offer online, that will be on your website, right? kristimagraw.com.
Yes. Yeah.
Will be there. Okay, so I'll have the link here. Thank you so much again for your beautiful presence and for our spiritual collaboration, as I call it.
Yes.
It's how it feels to me. And we'll be in touch again. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take good care.
Thank you, Valeria.
Bye for now.